Hey everybody, it's Aaron with Hunt Hard Talk Free, brought to you by Ballistics Custom Turrets. Don't forget, we've got a HHTF10 Hunt Hard Talk Free 10, which gets you 10% off your next turret order. On this episode of Hunt Hard Talk Free, I've got Brendan and Nicole Kelly of Ovis Stone Apparel. Brendan or Brandon?
Brendan.
I did say it right. Okay, good.
Nailed it.
Welcome to the podcast, and tell me a bit about yourselves.
Well, I'm born and raised in Fort St. John.
I won't hold that against you.
It's actually funny. If you're born and raised in Dawson, you hated Fort St. John kids.
Yep.
And vice versa. So growing up, hated Dawson and everybody in it.
Every time the hockey tournaments.
No, that's what it was, right? Hockey. And now that we live here, we absolutely love Dawson. Great place. But yeah, born and raised Fort St. John. I lived there for 32 years. Just kind of grew it up outside. Out of town a little bit, and then my grandparents had a farm. I spent a lot of time out there, farming, helping with the horses, cows, whatnot. And that's kind of where I fell in love with being outside, I think. And then, I started just going to the mountains with my dad when I was 12.
Holy,
yeah,
that's an early start.
Yeah, and my dad wasn't a big hunter, so we always did mountain trips. So it was more or less just like a boys' trip.
Yep.
And then one of my other hockey coaches came with us, Art Bilodeau, and he took me on like my first elk hunt, and we went up elk hunting and got all messed up in the backcountry there, but fell in love with it, absolutely loved it, and then, yeah.
So were these like Muskwa watershed hunts
exactly.
or northern?
All Region 7.
Yep.
All Region 7, so like went up to Muskwa bits, like the Graham, the Chwadi. I remember going up to Chwadi lots.
Yeah.
The halfway, that's kind of where we went, did our first elk hunt, was up the halfway. And then, kind of just got into guiding after that.
So were these horseback trips or boat trips?
No, they all started out horseback trips.
Okay.
Yeah, my first one ever was with a buddy. We went up into Nevis Creek, down into Louis Farm and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, first time ever sheep hunting. It was pretty sweet.
How long did you hunt before you were successful with sheep?
Well, it's a funny story. I started guiding for Sicking River Outfitters in 2003.
Yep.
And I never killed my first sheep till 2008, but it was my first sheep hunt. The very second day I shot my first sheep. And then I think I went on dry spell for like 5 years after that.
So you were solo when you shot your first sheep.
So yeah, solo, went on a solo. Like we horsed up in, we got lost, we made camp. I went out, found a bunch of sheep, went up the next day by myself, camped over one night, went out the next day, killed a sheep. It was like one of my first sheeps I really ever seen.
Yeah. Killed
like a nice 9-year-old sheep, and yeah, I was hooked after that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this sheep hunt is easy. Like anybody can do this. And then just dry spell after that.
Yeah. Yeah. I was fortunate in the same way that my first trip out, I harvested my first sheep.
Yeah.
But normally they say the year you start is the year your sheep is born. So you're going to be hunting 8 years before you have a successful hunt.
Yeah, and that's exactly how it was after I killed my first one.
Yeah.
Just could not figure it out after that.
Yeah. So when you were guiding, would you hunt the areas that you were guiding?
No, never. Like, I think that kind of goes against the rules. Like, you never.
Thank you.
You never hunt where you guide. Like now, like so, I took my kid. He was 4 at the time. I took him back into that area.
Yep.
Just because, I was familiar with the area. I knew the trails. I knew if I got in trouble, it was easy to get out.
Yep.
So, we went back once, but I've never hunted it other than that.
Right. Well, and that's why a lot of guides and outfitters prefer to hunt or to hire people from Alberta, because they're not coming into hunt.
They won't hunt their area. And
Correct.
I think like some guys, like you'll guide an area, then maybe like 5 years after or whatever it is, you might go back there. Anyway, so I was like, how I got my guiding job was actually kind of funny. I was in high school. I'd come home from playing hockey down south, graduated high school, and I was working at a sandblasting shop with McRae's, who I used to go to the mountains with all the time.
Yep.
And my outfitter, Mike Hammett, would come in and get like parts sandblasted all the time, and I knew who he was because I went to school with his daughter Jenny.
Yep.
So I remember he came in and I was like, almost like starstruck. I'm like, oh shit, like there's Mike. Like I could get a job with this guy, but I was too scared to like go talk to him or whatever. So finally he came back to get his truck parts the one day, and I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to him. So I finally went up there, bullshitted with him, and he had like a real like American accent. So it's like, oh, like, are you looking for guys? He's like, oh yeah, you bet. I'm like, oh sweet. So he's like, yeah, just give me a call. So yeah, gave him a shout, and he's just like, okay, got that real southern draw. So yeah, I went up there and got a job mid-August in 2003. I worked for them for 13 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're awesome. Great place to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that time guiding, what did you learn about buying quality gear?
Well, that's where it started, right? I remember we went up there. I went up there in August, and I had the green Pioneer rain gear, which was terrible.
Yep. Doesn't breathe.
Didn't even have like a zipper, just like the buttons.
Yeah.
A pair of terrible Morel boots, moccasin rubbers and moccasins, and like a cowboy hat and some leather gloves, and I just thought I was absolutely unreal.
I'm set.
Just
set for the mountains.
Like, I'm a mountain man now, and I remember like all year just freezing. Hated my life, just was frozen. All the other cowboys and the guides, that's all they were wearing, and I just didn't want to like whine about it or whatever. So
suck it up.
Yeah, I sucked it up. But then after that, I remember coming out and flipping through. All you had was the Cabela's catalog, right? So
yep.
Flip through that, and you'd buy whatever stuff they had. And the next year was a little bit better, and then the next year was a little bit better after that. But I just remember thinking like, this gear is just shitty. Like, it just sucks. And why don't they make anything? Like, Sitka hadn't come out yet.
Yep.
Kuya didn't come out till like 2011. So
yeah,
that's all you had was the Cabela's catalog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I wore.
Yeah.
Just would freeze.
Yeah. Waterproof but not breathable products.
Yeah.
And keep you warm until it gets wet products, and then you're cold.
And I just remember thinking, I did have a pair of like, it was polyester base layer, and I remember because I used to just wear like the Stansfield, so that would suck, right?
Yeah.
I remember thinking this polyester is like quite a bit better than everything else that I'm wearing. So I started getting a little bit smarter after that, but I just would always think like, why is there not
something better
out there?
Yep.
So like I always would think about it. There's got to be something better, but never did I think I would actually get into this line, right?
Yeah.
Doing this kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, and where did this idea come from?
Just that right there. I just was years and years of sheep hunting, and then like Sitka finally came out. Then I finally broke down, bought a bunch of Kuyu stuff when they first came out, and I thought like, this is unreal. But there's still things I didn't like about it.
Yep.
Whether it was like the color, the camo, the way it fit, just whatever, right? So I always would talk to pretty much every sheep hunter I went with and just be like, well, I think I could change this. I think we could do this better. But it was more or less just kind of just two sheep hunters bullshitting on the side of a mountain, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until like COVID or 2 years ago that I finally decided, well, I'm gonna actually do this because I feel like I could do a better job than some of these guys or most of them, right?
Yeah.
And not even that, it's finding something that you're passionate about doing. Brendan works in the oil patch. I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
And sometimes you get in your everyday going about it, but what's that thing that's going to get you passionate about? You've been in the oil patch for 15 years, same job every day, and you want something.
And it pays well. The security's there.
That was the problem.
But it's not something that you look for. Like, there's no personal passion.
Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
What do we want to do that we're going to be excited? Or it was his idea, and what's going to make him excited? And then, okay, we're going to do this thing, and it was the two of us and our son that kind of were the only ones, and we're
kicked it off,
getting it going. And then, so now it's become a really fun process of learning all about it and doing it, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
And can fit in with your full-time job where you can kind of work both at
You
the
can
same
pause
time.
it if you have to,
Yeah.
if things are busy, and then you can kick it off again when you're ready.
Yeah, I actually had a buddy the other day. He was talking to me about it. He's like, so what, are you going to have like a sweatshop in your basement? And I'm like, well, no, but like if I have to, yeah. And if that's me in my basement sewing stuff, then that's what I'll do, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, and
That's
that's
where
what
it kinda
that's how it
came
all
about.
starts.
That's how it starts.
Right?
It starts somewhere, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was basically just like, all right, well, I'm going to do a whole shit ton of research here, and I'm going to find a designer, and that's basically where it started.
Yep.
Yeah, we just it cost a lot of money to get it started, so.
How long did it take you to settle on a designer that this is who you're going to work for?
Yeah, months.
Or work with?
Well, like first off, I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to made a business plan. I talked to my cousin in Fort St. John. He just getting into sheep hunting. He's a business owner, so he helped me out a lot.
Yep.
Getting like the business started and running in a plan and like everything that goes along with that, right?
Yep.
So we did that, and then obviously came up with a name. I didn't know what I was going to call it.
Mhm.
I had a bit of an idea, and then I just researched for months, calling people, annoying people, sending emails, just like nonstop, right? So, and then finally decided on a business in Vancouver.
And it came with the designers there. A few of them had worked with Lululemon, so we knew, and Smash and Test, which are big Canadian brands, or Lululemon started out in Canada, so we kind of knew the background there, and we knew that they had worked with bigger brands.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, they called us up, and we went down for our first meeting. We didn't know if there was going to be. We didn't know what we were walking into. We're going down to Vancouver. It's still COVID, so we're driving down. And we having a meeting at 3 o'clock in Vancouver, and we don't know if they had like 50 employees, if we were walking into. So we walk in, and it's just like a wide open design studio, and 4 of them work there.
Yeah, okay.
And just we're working directly with them. So we felt better after that. We were like, okay, because you don't know.
You're not just a
walking
number
into, right?
to a corporation.
Yes.
Well, and like they had never worked with like obviously hunters, so I just had an armful of hunting gear with me. Like,
Yep.
This is what I want. This is what we're doing.
Yep.
This is my vision. And we just kind of just been running with it ever since.
And it's kind of exciting for them too, because they haven't done anything like this before. They have worked with Arc'teryx, but still Arc'teryx is in the fast fashion for outdoor wear,
Right.
say, where this is very technical, and they like the idea of coming out with something new and exciting. So
Yeah.
it's been fun.
Well, my biggest thing was like to them was, I want someone to buy something and never have to buy something ever again. Like you buy a pair of pants, I want it to last forever.
Yep.
That was my goal, and it has always been my goal. So
Yep.
I think that's kind of like the driving force behind it right now.
Yeah.
Just durable stuff that lasts.
How's the process been trying to find the technical materials that meet your needs?
That's difficult because you get all these samples. You get like a fabric sample in the mail, and you're just like, I don't know. Like this seems.
How do I go run this through the forest to see how it holds up, or the noise it makes?
And that's the other biggest thing is you'll get a prototype. So we're on prototype 3, but I only had our second prototype for my last sheep hunt.
Yep.
You only have a short window you can test this
Yep.
gear, like in the elements it's going to be tested in or warning, right?
Yep.
So I took it on a 16-day sheep hunt and come back with a lot of good stuff and a lot of not so good stuff. But now when we get the third prototype, which should be done right away, it's hard to like simulate that same backpack style September hunt, right?
Yep.
So like testing it's difficult because you want to obviously bring it to market, but you want to test it so it doesn't suck.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we've seen, whether it's with apparel or whether it's with firearms, we've had companies that ship us $100,000 in product, and then 50% of those have to be sent back or more because they didn't do their quality control and test the product before they shipped it out. They tried to meet that deadline to get it into consumers' hands by date X, and it didn't work.
And I think one of the biggest things too is like I'm building stuff that like myself and like other guys that I like trust to like talk about stuff with, like other sheep hunters that we're building stuff that we want to wear. Like if you're building stuff that like tries to like you want the whole masses to enjoy, you're never gonna build anything great. So you need to be very specific as to what you're building.
It's a small niche market.
It's a small niche market, and like that's what we're going after. We're not going towards everybody. We're going after like hardcore sheep hunters, and goat hunters, and whatnot.
And that's one of the things too, is where you got to stand your ground when you're designing this stuff, because the designers we do work with, they design fast fashion. Like a lot of these brands, it's the lowest price point to get their stuff out the quickest they can.
Yeah.
With the highest profit margins.
Fast fashion market, right?
And they'll turn it over I'll buy another one next year. I'll buy another one the year after.
Like, I want these zippers and I want this material. And they're like, well, that's going to cost you more. And I don't care how much it costs.
Yeah.
We're going to charge this price. This is what we're going to charge. I don't care if we're only making this much money.
Right.
You have to use the best of the best because that's the only way we're going to.
And let's be honest, companies like Arc'teryx, they still have very high profit margins.
Very high.
Even when they were doing small production runs, they still, especially if they're a direct consumer, have very comfortable margins. If you're putting a little more into the design of it up front, you won't make as much up front. But if you build the brand that people then know and trust, it'll grow.
Well,
right?
and if your first products you come out with suck, your company's over, right? So,
Yeah, there won't be a next year.
There won't
You've
be-
invested
there won't
everything
be.
in
And
year one.
especially when it's your life savings, right? Like
Yep.
we're investing a lot of
personal
time,
funds.
heart, personal finances into it.
Yep.
You want it to be quality over quantity, is what we keep saying. You know?
Well, and it's now
Like,
your
that's what
name.
we want.
Even though the company isn't your last name, people will associate this with you guys.
Yeah,
So this is your brand. So you don't want it to be crap.
It's like a child, yeah. It's
This is your other child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
Yeah. Well, that's like my mother, who, when I bought her out 5 years ago here at the store, had a 2-year retirement plan, and then she'd be done.
Yeah.
Well, she's still here 5.5 years later
Yeah.
because she says this is her third child.
Yeah.
The business is,
It's hard to give it up.
and so
It is, yeah.
she's done this her entire life. She grew up in it. It was my grandparents before that, so it's all,
Yeah.
and so it is. It's more than just a business,
It's more than a business. It has to be if you want it to last a long time.
Yeah.
Like,
and be meaningful.
and be meaningful. Yeah.
You could just launch a business just to make money, and
Well,
hopefully it takes off. But it's different to have the passion.
And I think a lot of people do that, right? They'll launch a business, and they want to sell it, right? That's
Yep.
their whole MO.
Yeah.
Where that's not our MO at all.
Yeah.
Right?
This is hopefully creating a legacy to pass down, right?
Hopefully.
And also, back to, we were talking about finding quality products. When you get a fabric, like when they send us fabric samples, some of them are an inch by an inch.
Yeah.
And that's what they expect you to
Yeah.
like
Make a
decide
judgment
on,
call
right?
off of it.
Make a
Yeah.
quality
And
judgment call.
one of those things where you think it's going to be a quality product, like our second prototype for our hoodie, you could touch it and it would pill. Like
Yeah,
it, you know, just not quality fabric. Well, you don't know that. But when you're like, we're dealing with factories that actually make the fabric for you, and then they send you, you know, it's a whole process. So all of these little processes have taken,
Forever.
you know, we're at almost exactly a year. We went down February 4th and met the designers last year.
Yeah.
A year ago.
And we expected to be, you know, be able to sell by now, right?
What was the goal for the fall? Like
Yeah.
last fall?
Yeah.
We're here in the spring.
Yeah.
We want to have product to sell in the fall.
It was 100%.
Yeah.
Well, they said 8 to 12 months. So we kind of figured
Spring.
now we're like, okay, it's probably 18 months to 2 years in all honesty, because we're on prototype 3, which we're hopeful.
Yeah.
But it's just that fabric component where I think the designs will be good this time, but I'm still not 100% on the fabric.
Yeah, and that's like I said, like the fabric it's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can like go to these, like there's lots of quality fabric companies like who you could go to, like who Kuyu's using or Sick is using or Polar Tag. You can use, and we are using like the same materials, but I'm testing them and I'm still just like, this isn't what I want. Like it's not good enough, right?
Yeah.
So got to do something better.
Yep.
And then they're just nonstop sending you fabric samples, and you're, like how do you test a fabric sample? It's got to be a prototype that I can.
Tie it on the back of the quad and just drive
Yeah.
and see how it
Yeah, exactly.
Holds
Gotta
up
fall
to the
down
beat.
a mountain with it on before I know if it's good or not.
wrap
Yeah.
rocks in it and
Yeah.
chuck them down.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been the biggest frustration, I think, and the biggest learning curve
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep all our designs so far. Just keep them simple. I don't like all the snazzy pockets and this and that, and so everything we have is just super simple, easy designs, quality stuff, good to go.
What's the plan for marketing? I mean, outside of this podcast, which will take you around the world. No, I'm joking. But outside of this, what's the marketing plan? Because again, a lot of people don't think when they start a business, I have a product that I've designed that I want to sell, and it could be the best product in the world that you know everyone should have.
Yeah.
How do you get them to know it and want your product?
Yeah, that's
Especially in a competitive market where there's everything from your $50 to your $600 competitive products. How do you work your way into that niche?
Yeah, that's difficult, but I think, like for us, I think, well, one, word of mouth is the most important. Like everyone says, like, grow it organically. What does that mean? Well, it means this, you buy it and then you go tell your buddy, and he's like, oh, then he go tells his buddy.
Yep.
So that's kind of the best way to grow something slow. Obviously, like social media can blow up your brand as well, but
Yep.
yeah, I think just like the organic growth, buddies telling buddies. We're gonna this fall, hopefully, if our stuff is done, we're gonna film a hunt with it all. So I'll either just film it myself, or if it's not too crazy expensive, we'll pay a guy to film it for us.
I've got a guy.
Yeah, do you?
I do have a guy. Yeah, he's based out of Vancouver right now. He was in Southern Alberta. I'll give you all that info afterwards.
Yeah.
But our last commercial that I'll show you when we're done here as well, he did the videography for that, and he's the videographer for the other guy I told you about before this. That comes up and hunts up here and brings a videographer that's phenomenal.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. And like when I was guiding, like I was videoing hunts before it was cool to like video hunts.
Yep.
But the problem is my video cameras all sucked.
Yeah.
I wasn't good at editing.
Yeah.
Nor did I enjoy the editing. I liked videoing.
Yep.
But the editing, so I never I got all this footage.
Yep.
But I just don't know how to edit stuff. So
yeah,
I need someone who is good at that.
His name's Peter, and he owns a company called Mavic Media that I'll give you all his contacts for. Everyone else out there, if you're looking for the best videographer in Vancouver that we've found that loves this. He's not originally in the hunting world, but he got into it here a few years ago when a client brought him up here, and he absolutely loves it now. Yeah. And we're hoping to get him back up this fall to do some filming again.
Yeah, I appreciate guys like that who can just like make a nice, solid video. Because it's hard. It is very hard to do that stuff. I'm not good at that.
And then editing, and then audio, and then getting your colors right, and
it's time consuming. I remember once I had 2 weeks off, and I edited a hunt video.
Yep.
And it literally took me 2 weeks, and it was terrible. it's like not horrible, but it's not great, right? And I'm just like, man, that took me 2 weeks of my whole days off, and it's like not that great.
I still have my sheep hunt video 80% complete, and I haven't finished it in 4 years.
Yeah,
and I have a hard time. I don't want to release it for judgment. Yeah, it's a self-conscious thing about my hunt, and B, it's just it's tough. It really is tough, and to do it well, and to figure out, make sure you're telling the story that you want to tell, and
and that's another thing too. Like I don't like to share pictures. I don't like sharing video, because like if you're anything like me, you show me a picture of a sheep you killed. If it's in Region 7, I'm going to find out where you killed it, right? Because I can tell by that picture. So
the mountains in the background. There's so many giveaways.
So you film a video and you kill a bunch of nice rams. People are going to find where that is.
Yep.
And nobody, if you're a hardcore sheep hunter, you don't want anybody going into your spots.
Right. On the same token, though, or on the flip side of that, is don't chase dead rams.
Yeah.
Just because there was a beautiful ram in there this season, there won't be one next year, right? There may not be one there next year.
I do enjoy finding like good areas that nobody goes to.
Yep.
So we went this last October hunt, we went to a spot where I had hunted for quite a few years before it was like the spot to hunt.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like this year. It was not my first choice. It wasn't my second choice or even my fifth choice to go. But that late, we left like this October 1st. I think we left. Nobody would fly us anywhere, right?
Yeah.
The rivers were all too low to take the jet boat where I wanted to go. So we went to this spot I didn't want to go. And there was like no sheep around. It was like the worst thing I've ever seen. It was brutal. 16 days and we seen like one legal ram. It was sad to see, actually.
We went October last year as well. I didn't get out this last fall, but the fall before, Greg and I went out and joined some friends on a hunt in an area that we hadn't been in, and went out October 1st? Yeah, it was. And everyone else had just come out of there, so we were the only ones going in that late in the season. We ended up running some of the guide and outfitters that were in there, their gear down to their trucks, because they had a multi-day horse trip out, and we're like, just throw it in the boats. We'll run it down there. And I don't think I'd go. I mean, it was great to be up there, but we got in on, it was 36 rams in small groups over 8 days up there, but there just wasn't a legal ram. There were a couple that could have been, but we weren't. We hiked in on them and just leave them, let them grow another year or two. But they harvested all the big ones, and I mean, our first few days there, they were spotting the same ones that we were hiking in on. Just they were watching them on their last couple days out. But
there's so many spots to go to in the Region 7. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that once you've done it once, you either love it or you hate it. I've talked to a lot of guys that say, I went on my first sheep hunt, never going back, want nothing to do with it.
100%. You love it or you hate it. You're either hardcore or you just like, you're never doing it again.
Because it's hard.
It's a lot of work.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you look up that mountain and going all the way up there. Yeah, today and then back tomorrow and probably the next day if you're not camped out up there. And you're burning calories.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah. 70 pounds on your back.
I do think too, like one of our biggest marketing points is we're a small Canadian run business, and that's how we're going to market ourselves, in the fact that there is a lot of bigger companies now.
Yep.
And a lot of them are American. If you've followed Kuyu from the beginning, they started as a smaller company, only online. They had one sale a year. You know, a lot of stuff has happened over the years, and now they're almost like a mass-produced.
Yep.
We'll never be that big, and we don't intend to be that big, but we are marketing ourselves as a Canadian-run, pretty much a family business.
It is literally starting in your basement.
And our 6-year-old son that are building this business together, trial and error. And so that's the way, you know, telling our story that way of, you know, the background of guiding and just our family adventures, having the videos that way.
Yeah, the focus on family owned and operated.
Yeah,
and
we'll grow our business that way. And
well, and it's all the guys that we're getting feedback from. They're all guides, and they're all just hardcore sheep hunters, right? Like that's what we are. We're all just Canadians, just like going out killing sheep.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think with the way of the world right now too, people want to support smaller businesses. They want to support Canadian businesses if they can, and trying to do that the best way we can is how we're going to market our business to start anyways. And you know, things could take off, and
and the goal will be to scale it.
Well, of course,
and then things will change
yes.
down the line.
We obviously want to scale it so the company's making money, because I want to give money back for conservation so my kid, when he's my age, he can hunt sheep, right? Or your kids or whoever, right? So I don't want it just for us. Like, I want like the next generation to be able to come out and do the exact same thing I did. I want him to go experience guiding if he wants, you know?
Yep.
Like that's really the end goal.
Go make less than minimum wage, work your butt off,
exactly.
and come out with some serious character.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember when I first started, I think I made around $4 an hour in the mountains.
Yep.
For my hours, $50 a day.
Yeah.
Working non-stop.
It's flat rate.
Yeah.
And they're gonna work you.
Yeah. Every 10 days, you might get a $15 tip if you were lucky.
Yep.
As a wrangler.
Yeah.
Or they'd leave their gear with you.
Yeah.
Those are the good tips.
Yeah.
When they let you keep their binoculars or.
I did get a brand new pair of rangefinder binoculars as a gift once as a wrangler.
Awesome.
Yeah. Still got them.
Yeah.
15 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's about. You get the experience. You get out. You see some countrysides. You get some. If you're good, you'll get some good gear out of the hunters and stuff, and just have an awesome time in the mountains. So, for anyone that doesn't know, tell us a little bit about the name.
Well, Ovis Stone, the name was. I didn't know what I was gonna call it. I knew I wanted to go after sheep hunters, and I just enjoy hunting stone sheep. I have a hard time going south hunting bighorns because I just want to always go up north, go hunt stones. So, what would be a fitting name? And there was full curl and all these other names I thought of, but Ovis Stone is just the abbreviated name of the scientific name of a stone sheep, Ovis Dolly Stone, right?
And the logo.
So the logo, that was one of the longest things to come. So I had hired artists, like graphic designers, and I got a bunch of just terrible logos. And I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be brutal. So the logo is actually a sheep a buddy of mine killed. Me and him, we killed 2019, I think.
Okay.
It was just an unreal lifetime ram, 11 years old, just broomed off heavy, nice sheep. So I'm like, I'm gonna get someone to draw this sheep. So I put a post out on my Instagram, and Buddy actually shared it, and there was someone had suggested this one girl, and she ended up just living up the road from us. So anyways, she drew us up the logo, and I was like, this is awesome.
That's very cool that it was someone just down the road.
Yeah, literally up
very
the road.
Cool.
My neighbor, drew it for us. So she did an unreal job, and that's how that came about.
That's another thing, though. You think, okay, a logo, 2 weeks, we'll have the logo done. You know what we want. 4 months.
Yeah.
And it was a painful 4 months.
Well, like everyone says, it doesn't matter what your logo is. It doesn't matter.
Totally matters.
And I'm like, well, this kind of matters. It needs to be a nice logo. Like it can't be just something stupid, right? So
Yeah.
to me, it was like super important, and I wanted like a nice like hand drawn something.
Yeah.
And I remember, when I was guiding this lady who cooked for us, she had drawn like a picture of the Chadwick Graham with a pencil on one of the cabin walls, and it was like the most amazing picture I've ever seen. And I tried to like track her down to get it, but I couldn't find. I didn't know who it was. Nobody knew, so that didn't quite work out. But yeah, this logo turned out pretty good actually.
Our elk head that we have on the Corlane's logo. That I was a high school teacher at the time, and I just knew that we needed something for Corlane's, and so I worked on that and came up with 25 or 30 different elk designs, and I just show them to Brenda, Rod, and Tim and say, hey, what do you guys think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And it was months and months and months before we had the one that everyone was like, yep, that's the one.
You go cross-eyed looking at this stuff.
Yep.
It's like, oh man, you gotta like take a break from it and then go back and look at it and be like, okay, no, this one's pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean the whole time we knew we wanted black art, like a Browning buck mark, but with an elk, and something that over time you'd be able to just show the logo and people would tie it to the brand,
instantly,
right? Without any words. Just I want that logo. So if someone has a sticker on their car, people will be like, ah, yeah, it's Corlane's.
Yeah.
And so to find what sets apart your brand, it's very important because that is your brand moving forward, right? Yeah, you can change the logo if you wanted to down the road, but it's kind of the foundation of the brand.
Yeah, and I didn't just want I just didn't want some random picture of a sheep farm because and I kind of felt like there's like Kuyu and like the black Ovis or whatever.
Yep.
It's all kind of like the same, and it just seemed like just a regular sheep.
Yep.
That somebody had drew for them that meant nothing.
Yeah.
So like I wanted something that actually meant something. So like this sheep was, I never killed the sheep, but I was super like proud of it.
Yeah.
Just to be like part of it and be there.
Yeah.
So.
It's got meaning.
It's got meaning, yeah. So
you don't have to be the one to pull the trigger. You were there on the hunt.
Yeah, and I honestly enjoy, like, I haven't killed a sheep now in like 4 or 5 years, and I just enjoy taking buddies out and seeing them kill sheep. So now I want to get Cash, my kid, I want to get him a sheep.
Yep.
So we went on a sheep hunt when he was 4.
Little early for him to do his first,
Yeah.
pull the trigger on his first one, but hey.
What I told him, so it was actually funny. We went out, so he was 4 years old when he went on his first trip. We brought his little BB gun. He calls it his BB gun.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, like if we can get close enough and you can shoot this sheep with your BB gun, I'll kill it for you, right? But we never did get on a sheep that trip, but it was still.
Yeah, and I bet it was memorable for him.
Gung-ho. He packed that freaking gun with him up and down the mountain in his backpack. So.
How far did you guys have to hike on that trip?
Well, we so I went back into like where I was guiding. So we quadded in a couple hours, then we hiked in a day and a half. I went up this trail, and I remember I'd only been up this one trail like a couple times guiding.
Yeah.
And there was one spot on the trail where it like the trail hooks hard left, and it looks like you like follow it, but you actually don't. So I get to the spot, and I'm like, oh, I think this is the spot. I'm like, oh, maybe it's not. Second guess myself, so I take the left like an idiot, go another kilometer, then I'm like, yeah, that was the spot. So then I'm like, well, we'll just start bushwhacking. So we start bushwhacking, and he was just not having it, right? So like, the bushes are hitting me in the chest, they're hitting him in the face. Finally, he just drops to his knees all dramatic and starts crying. And I'm like, okay, like, it's going to be okay. Like, I'll take you back down to the river. We'll throw rocks in the river for a day, and you'll be good. So we went back down the river and hung out, and then we went back up the next day, but never did find any sheep.
Yeah. No, it's tough. I mean, on our hunt, we had a young guy too, and we hiked in an area that no one had been in, and we got lost for a half day and looped back and ended up back where we had started at noon that day, and it's now supper time, and it's deflating. And then crossing creeks back and forth, and then slipping and falling and getting wet, and it's a grind, and it really shows you what you're made of, especially for like kudos to any young person that's able to make that trip, because it's not easy.
You gotta love the suck is what you gotta.
Yep.
You just got to
love the suck.
Yeah.
There's your next statement for your shirt.
Yeah, next slogan, love the suck.
Love.
He's done that stuff since we've been doing stuff like that with him since he was 1, though.
Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
I got back and people were kind of like, oh, like that was crazy. You brought a 4-year-old, and I'm like, you spend a lot of time outside with him. Like he can cut firewood better than most guys can cut firewood. So
Yeah.
like we run through, like, if something happens to me, I fall off a mountain, like, what do you do? And he would pull out my inReach, and would have to run the inReach, right? So like, I didn't just go in there blind, but like,
Right.
you get back after a trip like that, and you're like, yeah, maybe it was kind of dumb.
Well, especially with the grizzly situation now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah.
And I'm definitely a little more conscious now of like bears. Like when I was guiding, you're always on a horse, or didn't really run into a whole lot of bears. And I've honestly only ran into one bear at like a bear encounter once.
Yep.
On a backpack sheep hunt, which was 2 years ago. Yeah. It was that's actually funny too. We like come up on this ridge, and I like go to pull my binoculars out, and I like see something move, and I'm just like, oh shit! And there's like a bear, and jumps up, and he's like right there, and I'm like, oh shit! Drop my binoculars, pull my spray out, and I remember I bought spray from here, and there was 2 kinds, and I remember the lady asked me, she's like, do you want the powerful one or like the non-powerful? And I had like the non-powerful one in my hands, and I'm like, oh, this is fine. And I remember thinking, I'm like, I wish I had got the powerful one.
Spend a little more, get the higher capsaicin amount that shoots a little further.
Yeah.
It works though.
Oh yeah,
it works.
Well, and that's what Jeremy Evans, the mauled author, was talking about. That he said he could have had a semi-automatic rifle in his hands, and it wouldn't have helped him when he got mauled.
He was saying, I totally 100% agree with him. Like, everyone's got like the quick connects or quick releases on their rifles. And like, that's great, but that bear, the one that came at us, was coming at us so fast.
Yep.
There's no way I'd have got that thing off. I would have had to rip off my scope covers.
Yeah.
And point and shoot.
Yep.
It's on you.
Yeah.
Even if we could pack a pistol, I don't think I would have had it out in time.
Yeah. The only way that the pistol could help, if it's easy access, is when this arm's down the bear's throat, and you can pull it off your chest and shoot it 10 times in the chest with a semi-automatic that is cocked.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that bear spray, man. Like, the first spray was like on a race top, so it was so windy, it kind of just blew the spray, and it kind of just startled the bear.
Yep.
And I was kind of like, and then it came at me again, and I just waited and just like right down that thing's face, and it just instantly spun, and it was out of there.
Well,
right now.
You're hitting 3 senses. It's sight, it's smell, and it's taste, and you're overpowering. You think of how well we smell, and if you've ever been hit by spray, we had Tim test it out front of the old store. A customer came in to ask if there was any color to it. Yeah. So he sprayed it on the concrete sidewalk in front of the store.
Yellow.
Well, it cleared out the store.
Yeah.
And we could not be in. We're all just we're coughing and gagging inside the store because after they sprayed it, they walked in the store and opened the door, and just a small amount came in. We had to close the store down for the rest of the afternoon.
I don't know. That stuff is crazy.
And you think a bear can smell like a kilometer away, so it's heightened senses. Now you're hitting it with a blast of that stuff. Yeah. Their sight, their smell, and their taste are all overwhelmed. They're not gonna be looking for a meal at that point.
Yeah. So I pack one on my hip belt, and I think I'll pack another one like on my vinyl harness now too, or something.
Well, and Badlands vinyl harnesses, they're actually, for this season, they've released new ones that are more modular, that you can actually hook more onto them specifically for that in mind. Because that's what I've got, is I've got the vinyl harness, and I've got my inReach snapped on one side. I don't have bear spray on the other, and that's what Jeremy says he does. Yeah. He's got them both there, that he says doesn't matter which arm is in the bear's mouth, I can pop that sucker off and spray it in the face. But he says too many people have it where if you're laying on if it's on your back or your hip and you're down on your back, you can't grab it anyways, a bear on top of you. So he says keep it close and accessible at all times.
I've had like the neoprene pouch that didn't have like a strap over it.
Yeah.
And I've sat down and got up, and I walked an hour up the trail, and it had to come out of that pouch, right?
Yeah.
I didn't have my bear spray, and you're like, I ain't going back to go get it.
No.
Like, it's gone forever. No, I am going back.
Yeah. So back to the Ovis Stone. What are your thoughts if somebody came to you today and said, you know what? I've kind of got a cool idea for a clothing logo. I think people would buy it. Should I do it? What would your answer be?
I don't know.
I would be do it. I think, honestly, it's been a good experience for us. We haven't had too many. I think once we get deeper into it, right now we've put out a certain amount of funds to get started, but we haven't made our big investment yet because we haven't gone to manufacturing.
You haven't had to order
our big 100,000, where there goes your life savings and you're in this. But for us, it's been you know, there is times where you're feeling like unsure about something that's going on, but why not try it? You're going to regret it if you don't.
Yeah.
And like, I don't regret us starting it at all. It's been, you know, a fun experience for all of us. We're getting to experience new things that I never thought I would do, and meeting new people. And yeah, it's fun to be passionate about something and grow it from, it's your baby, right? So
Yeah.
growing it from the bottom up. And
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I would say the same thing. Like, I would tell that person, like, what do you have to lose if you don't do it? Like, probably a lot more if you don't do it, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, and if this is something you're truly passionate about, then
Yeah, it's
you're going to want to
fulfilling.
do it and pursue it.
But I would say go into it with your eyes open. And like you said, you went into it with a business plan right off the bat.
Like, yeah, you can't go into it blind. Like, if you're going into a business completely blind, like, it's a disaster waiting to happen. You gotta know people
Yep.
who've done it.
Yep.
And you gotta talk to them. You gotta do your own research. Like, you gotta be smart about it.
Yep.
Or it's never gonna last, right?
And like, honestly, we went about it for probably 6 months before we told anybody. Even our families didn't know. Our parents didn't know. Nobody. We just kind of started it quietly, and because we also didn't want other people's opinions about you
Right.
shouldn't do it, or
Yeah.
you're gonna regret that.
Yeah.
Well, you have a great job, you know. Like,
And now-
we understand that, and we've talked about it enough. We're gonna try it, and
Yeah.
if we fail, we fail. But at least we tried,
Yeah.
you know, because we needed a change. You know, you're doing your 9-to-5 job, and sometimes you don't feel like that's enough.
Mhm.
And having that fire lit under your butt, then you're wanting to do it, and you're excited to pursue the next step. And it's an exciting process. Then we told our parents, we've already started it. We've already, you know, we've gone to Vancouver,
We
and
paid the designers
Yeah.
$20,000 already. So
yeah, we asked Brendan's parents, can you watch cash? Why? Oh, we're going to Vancouver. Oh, okay.
what for?
We're like, oh, we have a meeting. They think it's a meeting for Brendan's like day job.
Yeah.
Never tell them any different. And then later down the road, when we went to Vancouver, we met with our designers and done it. They're like, what?
Designers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's one of those things that, just be true to what you believe you want your company to be, and take the small steps. Don't think it's going to fly off the ground in 2.5 seconds, because it's not. It's going to take, can take a long time.
Yep.
Everything that you think is going to take a month probably is going to take 6. But sometimes at the same point, that's how it's supposed to go. Like, I don't feel anything we've done hasn't gone in the way it's supposed to, which is nice too.
What would you do differently if you could rewind the clock, start over again? Is there anything you'd do differently?
I don't think there's anything I would change.
Okay.
No. The biggest thing right now for me is, like, obviously our designers are in Vancouver, which
Yeah.
is a lot of travel. So, like, during COVID, we had to drive because we couldn't fly, and then it's just like it's taken forever, it seems. So it'd be nice, like, our end goal is to have everything done in house. Like, our designers will be here. Hopefully, we can manufacture here. If we can manufacture here, then manufacture somewhere in North America.
Mhm.
Because right now everything is just being, like, built overseas, and we want to change that, obviously.
Yep.
But Canada makes it tough really tough. They just make it difficult to run a successful business, that kind of stuff in Canada.
Well, and like the COVID aspect of all this,
Yep.
because we are dealing with plants and fabric plants. You don't understand, like, half the time China or Vietnam was shut down, so then our stuff was totally halted, right?
Yeah.
So something that maybe was supposed to take a month now takes 4 months because they're on factory shutdowns down there and everything.
You couldn't have picked a
So-
worse time to launch an apparel business.
Well,
Going into COVID,
you
which
know,
you had no idea,
COVID,
right?
inflation, like
Yeah.
every little
Shipping.
step of it, shipping.
Yeah.
It's like we're at the peak of expense right now, in the sense of nothing has really been this expensive before.
Nope.
And you're starting a business, and you're going. People are saying, normally this would be like $20, but now it's $80. You're like, oh, thank you for
Yeah.
that.
there
You know?
isn't a small business out there who isn't losing money on shipping right now. I know that.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
It is.
Crazy.
Pre-COVID, a container, like for us to bring a container in, was about $3,500.
Yeah.
Then it went to about 7, then 11, then 17,000 for the exact same container. And then there was some extortion beyond that, and this wasn't coming to us. This was one of our suppliers in Edmonton. that he had. It was a sea can of safes coming over that should have been a $3,500 container. That they're up to 17, but then the owner of the boatyard basically is like, well, the boat's full. There's no room for your container, but for $5,000 more, we'll make sure it gets on there. So then he was like, it was full on extortion.
Yeah.
But do you want it on the ship or not?
Well, you need it.
Exactly. And so he was like 21,000 for that same sea can that should have been $3,500.
Yeah.
Who pays for that? The end consumer. So when that product should have been $100, it's now, and will the end consumer pay it? Well, if it's the only ones coming in, it kind of gets passed down. So
And it's tough. Like you got to make a profit margin, or you can't sustain a business. But at the same time, you can't gouge your consumers, right?
No. And I mean, a prime example is the ammunition sitting behind you right now.
Well, yeah.
Ammunition or powder. A can of powder was $54 pre-COVID.
Yeah.
It's now like $90, and our margins have not gone up. If anything, they've slightly gone down because it's ludicrous how things have climbed like that.
Yeah.
Raw metals. I mean, when we had our riverboat built before COVID, we ordered it in November, got it in March, and the cost of aluminum went up by like $10,000.
Yeah.
And now that same boat post-COVID is another like $45,000.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh.
So yeah, that's been definitely an eye-opening learning curve of the whole process too,
Yep.
right?
What kind of boat you get?
A Firefish,
Oh,
a
nice.
17-foot convict
Oh,
with
those are
the
sweet.
with the EcoBoost in it. Just the tiny little 2.3
You like it?
Eco. Love it.
Yeah.
We've had a few. Again, this is the first year, second year that they put that motor into boats. Couple minor issues that we have been ironing out, but phenomenal power.
Yeah.
Greg and I had it fully loaded with a couple thousand pounds of gear.
8 degree.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
7-8 degrees somewhere in there. Yeah. It's just the 6.5 foot wide.
Yeah.
But that puppy gets up on plane with 2,000 pounds in like a boat and a half length. Just
Yeah.
pops right up. The turbo spool up. It's phenomenal.
Sweet. Yeah, I mean,
And not bad on fuel.
Really?
Yeah. We were quite impressed on that trip. We came out with a lot of over half the fuel that we brought up there.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it was about 8 hours up.
Yes, I know you went. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been up there too. Yeah, we man. We were gonna buy a boat, but then we ended up just building our own too.
Oh, okay. My dad did too. Like he's had his for 15 or 18 years, and he's got a buddy in Grand Prairie, Dwayne Petherbridge, who has worked for a lot of the boat builders out there, and he helped him build the frame, or not the frame, the jig.
Yeah.
And then came up and helped him, and Dad learned to aluminum weld on his own. And
Yeah, same. Yeah, my uncle had like a welding shop, so we would just have it in there, and I'd just be welding away.
Yeah.
Just some shitty welds, some not so bad welds, but
Yeah.
One thing I would change is we got like the sport jet. I just looked, I think, had a V8 or something bigger.
Gotcha. Dad's got a 175 Sport Jet too,
'Cause
but
like-
it's a 15 and a half or 16
Yeah,
foot
pretty
boat.
short.
So it's good for that little boat and maneuverability, and two of us can lift it off the rocks if you end up high and dry. Not lift it, but push it off the rocks.
Yeah, because like you say, you go 8 hours up X River.
Yep.
You got a lot of fuel and all your gear.
Yep.
Good luck getting on step with those sport jets.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Where that little EcoBoost was no problem.
Yeah, I'd like
Popping
to see
up.
that thing. That'd be sweet.
Yeah. I'll show you pictures after this.
Yeah.
From an investment standpoint, again, looking back, if you were to tell somebody else, is this an easy venture to get into, or is this
No.
you better have
You better have some money.
some
saved up.
backing?
So like, yeah, we, just starting a business, not making any sales. You're a couple $1,000s. Just like you got to register a name and do this and do that and get your bank account set up. That just everything costs money.
Yeah.
And then to pay the designers, it was a $20,000 bill. And then you're
Just to start.
just to start, and then we had to pay another, because we're on our third prototype, that was in the initial contract, so we had to pay another $3,000. So if we go to another fourth prototype, it'll probably be another $3,000, which most likely will.
And is that any change, or can you do minor changes within that
changes,
$3,000?
but I wasn't changing like a lot of major stuff, but like enough that
Wow.
we had to pay another $3,000, right? So
Wow. Okay.
hopefully, we're hoping that there's not enough changes that we can do a few minor changes on another $3,000 bill, but we'll see. We'll see
We're
next
close
week.
on the design. It's like I said, just the fabric. So, trying to get those fabrics and then getting the prototype in those fabrics.
Yep.
That's the hard part, right?
Yep.
Because then they have to rebuild the whole prototype
Yep.
and do that. Another thing is that's different too. When you're getting a prototype, you get it, and it might not be in the color fabric you want, or it might not be, they put really cheap zippers, they put really cheap
Yep.
snaps, they put really cheap stuff. And when we go to order this, we have to order our minimums. So it's going to be a big financial investment. Well, before we say yes to anything, we want to make sure that everything
It's just how you
and
want
they're
it.
like, well, when you order, they'll put those things on. It's like,
No,
I actually need to see this before you
Yeah.
order it. Like, I need it said and done, because then I won't be sleeping at night. I'll have
Well,
a heart attack thinking about,
not only do I need to see it, but I need to like give it to some guys, and they need to try it. So it's
Yeah.
Get some honest feedback before we spend, because it's minimum order quantities are pretty high, so you're forking out $100,000.
Yeah.
Right. And you haven't sold nothing.
And the thing too, like our financial investment. So since it's been over the year, it doesn't seem, we're putting out a couple thousand as we go a few times. Brendan works some overtime shifts at work. We use that money. You're doing it. I have a part-time job, and then, you do what you can.
Yep.
But because it's been over a year, it hasn't seemed like,
That bad.
you're not like, oh my God, this is like.
You didn't write a
taking
check
all
for.
Yes.
We did. We wrote a check and we paid the $20,000 for the designers, but other than that, everything's been like
As
out of pocket, just paying as we go.
Yeah.
And then obviously we'll have to figure out how we're gonna come up with $100,000, but
for the initial big order.
for the
Yeah.
first order,
Yeah.
Because we're in a
initial
high
order.
interest rate
Yeah.
area right now for loaning,
Yep.
Like,
Again, worst
again,
time to be doing
worst
it.
time. So it's
Interest
one of
rates
those things.
doubled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they consider the first order like a small one, right? So then,
Mhm.
like, when you order like your first small order and then you get another bigger order, you're like, Jesus, like we sell everything, like our next order could be like $500,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
But also in the sense too, now that we have the designs of the actual hoodie and the pant, then we can make, then we can do a lightweight pant, and you can do a merino wool hoodie, and you can and then flip your profits. And we've already spoke to them about like what we want to incorporate next, where then that design process won't take as long in
Yeah.
the fact that there'll be base layers and things like that.
A little
So
easier,
it's
maybe.
not as technical as the pant and the hoodie.
Yeah.
They are more familiar with the base layer because they have done it for other companies.
Yep.
So different things like that.
Well,
But
and hopefully we can come up with more than just like two pieces to start, because we're like, okay, well, what can we afford to come up with, and what would be like the most beneficial. So I just thought, well, a pair of pants, because you're always going to be wearing pants, and
Yep.
I'm always got a second layer hoodie on, so
And the pants are the most important, other than my boots.
pants and boots.
My pants are kind of the most important piece I wear, and I've got one pair that I've now had for about 12 years,
Same.
and I haven't given them up.
Yeah.
They're starting to get the holes in them, but those are my go-to pants, and I'll keep wearing them till I can't.
Yeah. What are they?
They're a Sitka pant.
Are they?
Yep.
well, and a pant and a hoodie. Like my dad will wear the pant and the hoodie.
Yep.
He doesn't hunt. He's still going to wear the stuff. So
Yeah.
people will wear the stuff for hiking or different outdoor things.
Yep.
So it's a more versatile piece. As if we came up with rain gear first. Well, you need rain gear in the rain, right? So
Yep. Yep.
So yes, but
I'm
yeah,
at-
it's been a nice, because it's slower. The
Yep.
financial hasn't been like
Terrible.
Yeah.
hasn't been terrible on us. It's worth every penny.
Mhm.
Everything we've done and put money out for is
Yep.
something that I'm proud of. It shows.
And I'm not married to a brand. I want to test things and see what I like, and then I'll make my mind up based on that. And I mean, being in this industry, it's pretty helpful because they'll give you samples and stuff like that. So I've got some Badland pieces that I absolutely love, and they're half the price of Sitka. I've got that one pair of Sitka pants that I've had a hard time beating. Now, that being said, King's Camo has come out with some that I'm really impressed with at the price point and what they're offering. So I like to test them out, and then I'll run them for a season, and then I'll give you my honest opinion after that season.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I'll test everything, and
Yep.
like I'm not loyal. I wasn't loyal to. I'll try anything, right?
Yep.
Because I want to know what's the best for
Yep.
the best price, and
Yep. And I mean, we used to sell Sitka here for quite a few years, and their prices kept creeping up, and then our
Yeah.
sales went down. and then Badlands came out, and then those shot through the roof with their over-the-counter warranty and all those sorts of things that they offered. Our Prince George location, when we opened there, we wanted to have Sitka there because there was a demand for it, and we're debating whether we'll bring it back in here because it's doing well at that location. But do you buy the $600 jacket? Do you buy that $350 jacket, or do you buy the $50 no-name crap jacket from somewhere else? Like, I don't want a $50 jacket in my store.
Yeah.
I want the quality stuff that then has backing. But there's things that I like about each brand.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that your pictures, I've only seen a couple with it, but how'd you come up with your camo pattern?
Well, that was a big one for me. Like, there's lots of cool camo patterns, and you could go down a rabbit hole.
Been there.
We've been
You
there.
know, there's like the micro camo versus the macro, like how like the dichromatic and like trichromatic, like how we see compared to like how ungulates see. Like, you go down like a rabbit hole, but I'm just like, I just want something that one looks cool but doesn't look cool. It ain't, no one's gonna buy it.
Nope.
And I just wanted like certain colors. Like, I felt like nobody had the colors that I liked, because I'd be up in like the subalpine or whatever, right, in September, and you're just like yeah, like this camo looks sweet, but like you kind of look like an idiot. You stick out like a thumb, right? So I just wanted like colors that blended in with like that up high subalpine sheep hunting country. And
So,
I just found a designer, and she was unreal.
Yeah, Apparel Mark put us in touch with this graphic designer, and she came out with.
She was awesome.
Well, we had them all over the wall, just all these camo
Everywhere.
patterns, and we'd stare at them, and then kind of eliminate a couple, and then it took a while.
Took a long time.
Yeah.
Same thing. I was going cross-eyed looking at camo patterns.
Yeah.
And then the first prototype we got, they were making that material, so they were able to put it on. So we did actually see it and
printed on that material to see how it looks instead of on a wall paper
in
on
my
a wall.
basement with like fluorescent lights on or
Yeah.
whatever, right? So I actually got to like take it outside and test it.
Colors were good, everything.
Yeah.
That's
that
awesome.
fabric was just too thin, and so, but it was good to see it, because now we haven't seen it again, because they just use what fabric they have there out of that roll.
I'll probably do, like, when it comes time to like the order stuff, I'll probably do like a poll on like the Instagram or my website, and just see like who likes camo and who likes solids, because like I'm back and forth, and I know like a lot of guys are hardcore solids, some guys like camo, so it's that'll be a tough to like.
I'll give you my honest opinion. I think you have to do both.
Well, we
And
are.
we are.
Yeah.
We are.
We can split that minimum that we need to make.
Yeah.
And
Well, and that doesn't all have to be in the first launch either.
Yeah.
That could be your spring and then your fall order that we're going to add the solids to it, but we're starting with, or whatever order you want to do that, right?
Yeah, our plan is to come out with like kind of like a 50 like half camo, half a solid color. We haven't really decided on the color yet. We're still kind of going back and forth.
Yep.
So like, what's a good solid color that guys like to wear, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gray, is it yellow with brown or green or whatever?
Yeah. And I mean, again, being in the industry, I see it with all the brands that we sell, and you see it cycle between more the solids, more the camos. Right now, we're in a solid phase, I'd say. Right now, where a lot more of the solids are coming out with all the brands who were strictly camos and stuff that now, I mean, obviously, digital camo is the way to go instead of real tree camo. And then now solids are huge, and a lot of guys will still wear a solid bottom, but then a camo top. They're like,
and also it's great marketing. You can have the exact same pant. People already have the camo, so they're like, I love those pants. I'll get it in this color, this color, this color. There you go. Now I have 4 pairs, right?
4 colors, you can wear them uptown.
Yeah.
Same thing.
It's the Gucci hunters that the camo isn't actually for the mountains for a lot of the guys. It's for they want to be seen around town in it.
Well, and it's like anybody, you see someone walking down the street with like Sitka, you're just like, oh yeah, he's a sheep hunter. I like that guy. Or right? Like,
Stone Glacier.
You recognize like either the logo or the camo color or whatever, right? So ours would be no different, hopefully.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I guess where can we find you? Where can we find your product? Where do we find Ovis Stone?
We got Instagram right now, so we're just Ovis_Stone for our Instagram, and then we got our website. It's just Ovis-Stone.ca.
Yep.
And then we got Facebook as well. I don't really go on Facebook a whole lot. I'm not too familiar with it. I just kind of run the Instagram.
Yep.
and then the website as well, mostly. Yeah.
And then we are starting to venture out, and we're going to start once we have some product doing the trade show circuit. We'll be at the Sheep Show event here in Dawson.
Yeah, on the 3rd, we're gonna have a table set up to Friday night.
Yep.
So we got like some t-shirts and hoodies. We're gonna do some giveaways. I got a buddy to build a knife and a case, so we'll do some giveaways for that. And then we got a little banner with.
Let's throw it out there. Who's your buddy building this knife?
Oh, he's in Alberta. His name is Shane Elliott.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just an old cowboy. He just loves building knives. So he's built me one so far for a giveaway, and then he built me another one, and I just built my own leather case for it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just an old buddy that loves building knives. He's a beaut.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Anything else? Well, I guess the one thing I didn't ask you is when can we expect to see product ready for sale?
Well, crossing my fingers. Hopefully by this fall it'll be done.
Awesome.
Yeah. Get a good test on like this spring, this summer, and then get on to manufacturing and get it here for this fall. That's our goal, anyways.
Right. And that's for the technical gear. Do
Technical
you have what I'd call swag gear available yet?
We got swag, and like our goal, we never did I'm not into like selling swag, but like we wanted to get our name out there, obviously. So
the hats and t-shirts and toques and
all
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we got all that stuff on the website. We're gonna have a whole bunch of stuff at the Sheep Show, so you can come down and like check that out.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If people want to reach out to you, how do they find you? Well, we know where to find you. Do you want them to email you? How do you want people to?
Is just either you can message me on Instagram or go on the website and there's a contact on there. Just send us a message and it goes straight to my email.
Excellent.
That's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Anything else you guys want to throw out there to the public listening?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think we're just. I think honestly, like what sets us apart from like all the other brands is we're just. I think we're just a Canadian company with hardcore dudes helping us out.
And you've put the time in again and again and again.
Yeah, and I think it's
working through
my background and like the guys helping us. It's their background. Like we just like even if I wasn't doing this, I'd be out there slugging the hills.
But you also didn't settle on revision 1, 2, or 3.
And I won't probably settle on the 4th one.
Yeah, it's got to be right.
It's got to be perfect, or I don't want it. Right?
You're not shooting for a timeline launch. You're shooting for the product.
If I don't want to wear it, no one else is gonna want to wear it. So it's.
Well, and also it's like one of those things, right? As soon as you see it, you're like, And the prototypes we have got so far, the fit hasn't been great.
Yeah, the last one was pretty good, but it's just still, like I said, it's got to be perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it'll come at the right time. And what they've told us so far is once we get the fabric kind of settled on, that's when they start printing the fabric. So that'll get it moving, and then we can change some in the design because it will take a few months to get that fabric.
Yep.
And then once we do finalize that and move on to manufacturing, it's about 4 months of manufacture time. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, it's a waiting.
Yeah. Hurry up and wait.
It's a lot of waiting. You're just like waiting for an email to come in or hoping your stuff's going to show up or,
Well, and it's Chinese New Year right now, so
nothing's moving overseas.
So we're hoping our stuff took off before it started.
And even if you're going to get stuff made like in Canada or North America, all the fabric comes from overseas anyway.
Yep.
So like it's just a backlog of just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah. Company that we work with, we just for the first time worked with them. Just getting some basic branded tees that are shipping out of Mexico.
Yeah.
Which quality was decent. The fact that there's no 18% duties because of NAFTA and everything is kind of nice. So I'm hoping to see more companies not companies move to Mexico, but see more availability out of Mexico to keep it so we're not waiting on everything from China.
Well, and that's the little things like lots of people don't understand. Like you can get like the fabric sent over to Canada, but then you pay like an additional tax just to get it sent here. So or if you get it sent to like say Taiwan, they don't pay that tax. So then you save 18%. Right there.
Well, there's brands that we were looking at. We go down to Texas for our buying shows, and so there's brands that are shipped into the States that have been taxed 18%, but then to bring them back up to Canada, there's another 18%.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not selling $80 T-shirts that are cotton T-shirts.
Well, yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
You'll never sell them.
No.
I feel like a dirtbag selling a T-shirt for $80.
Yeah. So no, it's not easy, and with COVID supply chain issues, everything that has affected it, we're not seeing that go down, the costs or anything like that.
Oh,
so
I hope this COVID supply chain thing is over soon, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be.
No, not for pricing. I mean, we're starting to see product roll in.
It never goes down.
Bring it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do what you can do.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, thank you guys for coming in. Check it out, ovisstone.com.ca.
.ca.
Ovisstone.ca.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you.
This episode brought to you by Ballistics Custom Turrets. HHTF10 for 10% off your next ballistic order.